Hello, namaskar, good morning or good evening, depending on from where you are joining us. My name is Bhumika, and on behalf of the complete USAID India and SAREP team, I extend a very warm welcome to you all. Many of you may be aware that South Asia Regional Energy Partnership is the flagship regional energy program of United States Agency for International Development, India. This 5 years initiative from 2021 to 2026 is aimed at improving access to affordable, secure, reliable, and sustainable energy across 6 South Asian countries. That is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Today's information dissemination event is being conducted as the third round of request for applications under the USAID SAREP Partnership Fund, that is the SPF, is now open. The SAREP Partnership Fund supports market-based transformative solutions to enable the clean energy transition, particularly by engaging the private sector, local models, solutions, innovative technologies, resources, experience, and networks of such relationships. Now I'll give you a brief overview of what we are going to showcase in this session today. So we'll start with welcome remarks, and we'll have a keynote address by Apurva Chaturvedi, who's the Senior Clean Energy Specialist from USAID India. We also have a SAREP movie, which will be showcasing you the work which SAREP is doing in these 6 countries. We'll also have some information and overview about the SAREP project, which will be displayed, which will be put up by our COP, Mr. Rakesh Goyal. And we have SAREP Partnership Fund RFA. So details about eligibility, submission requirements, etc. by Naveen Devnani, who's the Director of Finance and Grants from SAREP. We also have some time for question and answers. So I would request you should have your mics ready. And when we announce, then you have raise your hands and then we'll allow you to speak. So we'll close by vote of thanks by Sumed Agarwal, who's the DCOP SAREP. Now, without further ado, let me invite Ms. Apurva Chaturvedi, who's the Senior Clean Energy Specialist, USAID India, for the keynote address. Apurva has more than 15 years of experience in clean energy and power sector. She has experience in designing, leading, and managing several clean energy programs at USAID. Her area of expertise is strategy formulation and program design and management. She's currently leading the power distribution, smart grids, e-mobility, energy efficiency, clean energy financing, and private sector engagement portfolio with USAID India. Over to you, Apurva.
Thank you, Bhumika, for your kind introduction and a warm welcome to all the participants to this, information dissemination meeting for our partnership funds under our flagship program called SAREP, which Bhumika alluded to. So first of all, I'm sure you have gone through the first 2 rounds and how it was done and who was selected. Perhaps many of you are aware of it. If not, the SAREP team will take you through the mechanics of how to apply, who are eligible, what is this fund meant for, and this in this third round, which area specifically are we looking at in terms of getting proposals, to be awarded. So I won't get into the details. My team is better equipped to take you through that. Rakesh, who's the chief of party for SAREP, will take you through that presentation, followed by other SAREP colleagues. Just to let you know, SAREP is the flagship program for US India bilateral clean energy partnership. And we have 4 verticals. Perhaps many of you may be aware, but if not, 4 verticals within SAREP. One concentrated on cross-border power trade, the other on advanced energy technologies, which includes renewable energy, energy efficiency, electric mobility, storage, hydrogen. The third vertical is focused around modernizing utilities, both transmission and distribution. And the fourth vertical is more cross-cutting, but actually is based on how do we mobilize investment from both public and private sector, designing of innovative financing instruments and strategies, also looking at improving bankability of projects. So all kinds of financing and private sector engagement is part of our fourth vertical. um, we would be looking forward. So I think in this particular round, we have zeroed in on certain themes that we are looking for in terms of getting proposals, which you will hear about later during this later part of the event. Um, we look forward to working with non-traditional partners, and when I say non-traditional partner, it means anybody who has innovative solutions, which complement and also supplement what we intend to do as part of our SAREP program, which is accelerating clean energy deployment in all these 6 countries where we work in. So, which Bhumika told you about, the South Asia region. So, anybody who has amongst you any good solution that we can support you on, please apply for that. Of course, the themes will be given to you. Um, and this is actually a 12 million fund that we have under SAREC. We have already had 2 rounds of our partnership fund, through which we have awarded, if I'm right, and please correct me, SAREC team, I think 11 grants already, and now in the third round we are looking to award some more. This is an ongoing process. We keep repeating our partnership fund announcements. So we really look forward to your engagement on this and getting some really good proposals which can contribute to achieving the objectives of our program for the US India energy partnership, but also for USAID's partnership with other countries within the South Asia region. With that, back to you, Bhumika. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Purva, for sharing your valuable thoughts and telling about the importance of this funding opportunity by SAREP. You've rightly set the tone. And moving on, now I'll play a video for our participants to better understand the work SAREP is doing and what we plan to do. So just give me a moment.
South Asia has a rich cultural landscape, unique geography, and diverse population. And the economic aspirations of its over 1.5 billion citizens unite the region. However, this region, with the world's fastest expanding economy, is also tremendously vulnerable to climate change. Greater access to clean energy will help meet the region's rapid growth without compromising its natural, social and economic resources. The United States Agency for International Development, better known as USAID, is committed to working alongside its South Asian partners to help ensure a just transition from fossil-based to clean energy to drive economic growth and development. Our shared dedication to clean energy and climate action have resulted in USAID's new 5-year program, the South Asia Regional Energy Partnership, or SAREP. This initiative will improve access to affordable, reliable and sustainable energy in 6 countries: Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Over the next 5 years, SAREP will accelerate renewable energy deployment, conserve power through promoting energy efficiency, mobilize billions of dollars in investments, and train thousands of employees in the clean energy sector. SAREP will reach these goals by building regional energy markets and enhancing cross-border electricity trade for a regionally integrated grid, deploying and scaling advanced energy solutions such as renewable energy, electric vehicles and distributed energy resources, enabling high-performing modern power utilities to strengthen their transmission, system operation and distribution services, and leveraging investments through transparent, best value procurement practices and innovative financing instruments. Additionally, SAREP through the South Asia Regional Energy Hub or SARE will facilitate dynamic collaboration, coordination and communication among its South Asian stakeholders, champion gender mainstreaming in the energy sector and enable pollution mitigation. Further, through its $12 million partnership fund, SAREP will issue multiple grants to advance green energy solutions. And SAREP will also forge deeper energy cooperation and new partnerships in South Asia to achieve net zero targets. Now is the time to galvanize South Asia's clean energy transition. Let's work together through SAREP in empowering the region to meet urgent clean energy goals.
That was the video. So I hope you got some perspective. And now to add that, may I now invite Dr. Rakesh Goyal, who's the Chief of Party of SAREP. He has more than 40 years of experience in various government and private sector, and he's been working with various other USAID programs as well. So over to you, Rakesh, sir.
Thank you, Bhumika. Good afternoon and good morning to all of you for joining this third round of grant dissemination meeting and sparing time for that. So this program, I will start from the right-hand side of the slide because left-hand side was partly covered by Apurva. This SAREP is a 5-year program, started in May 2021 and will end in May 2026. As has been told, this is spread in 6 countries, and we have 2 bilateral partners from the Government of India sides, the MNRE and the Ministry of Power, which is guiding us in terms of what are the activities that we should take it up. And time to time, they review our progresses and further provide the guidance because the world is changing very fast and it is dynamic in nature. To do the pilots and to do some of the initiation of the work or test some of the things, we have the 7 partner states, which is also being decided by the MNRE and the MOD. And the results that we will achieve by conducting pilot in these states or working in these states, we will be scaling to the entire country later on and in the South Asia regions. That's a philosophy of the program. Then we have currently working with the 14 federal institutions, which are listed here. Indian Railways is our one of the key. Recently, USAID has signed an MOU with the Indian Railways to help them in terms of achieving their net zero target by 2030, and which was mentioned in the joint statement issued by the Prime Minister Modi and the President Joe Biden. Institutions may get added as the program moves on that. Coming to the left-hand side of the slide, to achieve the objectives of the program, there are 4 sub-objectives, I will say. One is the enhanced regional energy markets and integration, cross-border transaction through markets. Here, bilateral transaction is already taking place. The focus here is more on the transactions through the market, which means through the Indian Power Exchange, or try to develop a regional power exchange, or through the, if the power exchanges gets developed in the other countries. Also initiate the process for the trilateral or quadrilateral transactions or flow of the electrons. For example, can the Bangladesh take a power from Nepal through India, transmission line flowing? Can the Bhutan supply power to Sri Lanka or Maldives using the Indian subcontinent line? Those I mean by trilateral and quadrilateral. Then increased deployment of advanced energy solutions, in which we are working on the renewable energy, electric mobility, energy storage, energy efficiency, and on the hydrogen part also, we are working greatly on this. Then the third objective is the improve the performance of the both transmission and the distribution utilities, both their operational and their commercial performance by doing digitalization, by using the new technologies, by using the new tools. Then the fourth one is the transparent best value procurement. So can we do a sustainable procurement? Because sometimes, what happens is that you purchase a goods initially, but then the cost of the disposals and their lifetime cost is, if you consider all those parameters, you really find that something else is much cheaper to you than what the current value of the any product is that. So promote that also. Now, on the bottom of the slides that you see, which are the cross-cutting themes, which we are working: private sector engagement, pollution mitigation, gender equality and social inclusion, human development, and lifestyle for environment, which has been added recently. Next slide, please. Now, as far as the program's strategy is that, in terms of providing, the program provides technical assistance to the institution that you have seen and to the countries that you have seen in the previous slides. And while providing the technical assistance, we mean helping them to understand the new technologies, the nuances of new technologies, the pros and cons of those new technologies, how the technology can be used, and how that can be deployed. By doing some of the pilots and by building capacity, by doing the policy interventions and other things. Then also another facet of this is the enable partnership and alliances. So we work a lot of the partner countries you have seen partner states, you have seen the partner institutions, and we also do some of the think tanks, other academic institutions, and the colleagues like you, which would be forming the partnership to do that. Then we also try to develop new business models, because however technical you get, ultimately that need to be commercialized. So what can be the best business model to do that? And how to involve or invite private sector investment in this sector, because clean energy transition in this region requires a huge investment. And so the private sector involvement is very, very critical. So how to do that? Then the fourth one, for which we are here, is also a very, very important facet of this program, where we have the provision for the grants for innovative solutions under a strategic partnership. So if the SAREP is doing on its own, SAREP partners are contributing on it, but still, if there is anybody in the globe has an idea to improve or help the clean energy transition in this region, then we support them by providing the grant. We will discuss with you what the procedure, etc., in subsequent slide. But I will say that's an important. So here the SAREP does not provide the ideas. SAREP only facilitate, implement your ideas. And I have seen many have the ideas, but there is a shortage of funds and the resources. So that SAREP provides to implement your ideas, innovative solutions, which will change or which will help in the clean energy transition in this region. Not necessarily in India, it can be anywhere in the out of the 6 countries is there. Then, of course, cross-cutting learning. Next slide, please. So to monitor this program, that whether this program has achieved its target or objectives or not, we have some indicators also, which has been said. There are many, but these are the top 5 indicators, which is tracked by the USA and also by the 2 nodal ministries that you have seen, and by the US government itself, how we are moving ahead this. So one of the target is to attract the 7 billion USD of private investment or public investment, which will help in terms of the clean energy transition. The program should support about 5 gigawatts of the clean energy deployment. Then through the energy efficiency, the gain should be about 435 gigawatt hours and facilitate a cross-border flow of electrons for the 4 terawatt hours, and strengthen the capacity of the 10,000 professionals or the technicians who are working in this sector or who can help in terms of the clean transitions. We look forward for your support in terms of helping us in achieving these targets. Next slide, please. Now, these are some of the activities that we are currently doing in partner states. Why I'm depicting this is that you may get an idea what type of activities that we are doing in our partner states. And when you make a case or when you submit your applications, that will help you in terms of structuring that activities and that which can be linked to our program, or it can be add to our program, either supplement or complement in it. For example, Madhya Pradesh, with the distribution companies, we are doing 3 pilots. One for the data, the lot of data that will come by the deployment of the smart meters or the prepaid meters, how to utilize that for the reducing the technical losses, improving the operational performance, or reducing the commercial performance. So what type of data analytics is required to make meaningful use of the data that will come from the smart meter. Then also, as you know, there is a high failure rate in most of the government controlled discoms about the distribution transformers. So can we measure some of the critical transformers in the distribution system and can prevent their breakdowns or their failure rates by their health monitoring system? Then again, related with this, can we use the drone to monitor the lines and the network and do some preventive maintenance and avoid breakdown of the lines or the substation to increase the reliability of the power and also to save cost in terms of the failure of the equipment. Then the other states, we are working with the regulators and we are helping them in terms of the short-term and long-term planning of their resources. Central Electricity Authority has recently issued a guidelines for the resource adequacy, which is mandatory for most of the states to follow and develop the plan. So we are helping them in terms of what can be the model, what can be the methodology that is best for them, and it includes both short-term, long-term, and medium-term plan. Then how the deployment of the renewable energy, deployment of the smart meter under the RDSS scheme. Then the e-mobility is another sector which we are helping several states in terms of developing their policies or deploying them or converting their fleet from the fossil fuel based to the non-fossil fuel based fleet. Hydrogen, we are supporting some of the states in terms of developing the policy. Also, we are developing largely the fertilizer industries to use green ammonia for converting, for using the fertilizer and then making them green, which is the larger, as per the hydrogen mission of the country. That's one of the key targets there. Then we are also doing some of the inertia management and reactive power consumption, because as more and more RE will get added into the grid, then it requires it, more system inertia, more reactive power compensation, those parameters of the grid to make the grid more resilient and robust, what need to be done and how need to be done. So that type of study. Then we are also working on some of the tariff reports, enabling private investment and the new models that can be created under the public-private partnership to facilitate the private sector investment in this clean energy journey. Next slide, please. Now, the main themes for this fund is support market-based transformative solution to enable transition to clean energy, promote innovative, sustainable solution, harness innovative business model. So if you see, these are very, very broad themes and ideas, and under which probably in the sector, whatever we do can be covered under this. So I doesn't want to keep you bounded by that, much worried about that, if this is covered under this head or not covered in this head. Of course, if you show that journey, that how your work will support that, that will always be helpful. But feel free if you think your idea will contribute to this clean energy journey and transition, that is most welcome in this. Next slide, please. So just to give the flavor of ideas, as Apurva has told, this is the third round that we have opened now. So in the first round, we provided the grant to the 3 entities. One is the Swayam Shiksha Priyo. Now, their key role is that they are developing rural women to become entrepreneurs. So they are not only trading them, but also actually giving a demonstration by selling the renewable energy project, like the biogas digester and the sabji cooler, etc. And this has been very successful. They have traded around 35,000 women already. And many of the women are earning money because of that sales, that equipment they are doing it. And also the rural community is very happy by using those projects, and they have been able to substitute using the gas cylinders and other things. We recently visited this, and they are working largely in the Maharashtra and in the Bihar state. So what I'm trying to say, if you have a good idea, which you think probably for some reasons is not very suitable to partner state, but somewhere else, but it's very exciting and it will help the clean energy transition, we'll be very happy to look into that part also. Then the auto grid, which is working on the with the Tata Power in terms of the demand response program. And you will be very surprised to know that this program is going without incentive. And very, very high encouraging results have been achieved in terms of the demand response. So when the messages have been passed to the customers to reduce their demand, to manage the grid better, they have done it. And I have been told that when the talk of the incentive will came to that, many of the consumers said, no, we are not worried about the incentive, but we wanted to contribute to the national goals and the objectives. So currently, I think that the latest number is that 90,000 customers out of the around 1.2 million customers of the Tata Power have already been enrolled. And because they initially opened for the select customers. So that is why this number is small. But now our plan is that to open it for all the customers of the Tata Power who has the smart meters. So this can be done. So this is really bringing not only just the number basis, but also making the behavioral change in the lifestyle of the customers, which is very, very significant because that will have a much lasting impact and the gains are much larger on that point. So that's why we focused on that. Then this is a new building institute. We are working with NBI and working with the India Smart Grid Mission on this. So idea is in the large customers, particularly the commercial buildings which have a load of 1 megawatt and above, has lot of flexibility in their demand. Now, can that flexibility be utilized in terms of managing the grid? So that's a pilot that we are doing it with these. The place that we are implementing is Indore currently, and we are in the process of identifying the building. Next slide, please. Now, these are the 7 grants which has been awarded in the round 2, which has been done recently in the June only. So I'll just very quickly give the flavor of that. Ultravision, this is the, we are trying to do a demand response pilot in the Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is suffering from the energy security issues because it's a landlocked country. And with the crisis, the prices of the import of the coal and the oil has become very, very high and significantly impacting their economy. So with this demand response, they can control and manage their demand much better. Then the next one is awarded to CalCF Innovations. Now they have a very unique model and they promote mostly the small startups, and they will create a competition with them on the topic which is of the concern of the Maldives discoms. So the problems with the Maldives discoms will be identified. For this, the startups will be requested to put their ideas, and the best 2 ideas will be, or 3 ideas will be picked up, and then they will be supported to implement them and execute them. Then again, the green state hydrogen, we are working with for supporting the Sri Lanka's energy security issue by the production of the hydrogens. So we are helping them in terms of putting the necessary policy and the regulatory framework, and then actually doing a couple of pilots to prove that how it can be moved. Then the 4th one is awarded to the Italy. Now here we will be working with some of the cities in the South Asian regions to achieve their net zero targets and what can be the roadmap. And then not only just making the roadmap, but some of the recommendations will get implemented also depending upon the interest of that municipal of that particular city. Then with the power laser and then the India Smart Grid Forum, we are working to create a customer to customers exchange of power. What you can say is we are trying to develop a retail market for the renewable energy exchange. Because the bulk power, there is a power exchange existing. There are 2, 3 more exchanges existing. But there is nothing mechanism which is there for the retail power. And as more and more people will have solar rooftop, they will like to sell their excess power or surplus power when they are not in house at a more commercial rate. So how that can be done? So we are trying through them to develop a mechanism, which is a blockchain we will be using, and see how it can be done. Then from the next is the Sangam Ventures. With we are working with them because thermal efficiency is one of the most promising area in the industrial energy efficiency, but most neglected also. Neglected because of the it requires a changes in their processes, and the industries are not much interested to take that risk and make that investment, which looks to them risky. So with Sangam Venture, we will be working with a couple of the industries in the 2-3 countries like dairies, textile, and others to improve their thermal efficiency. And with this thermal efficiency, we'll try to create because payback period is here about 1 year or so, differ from technology to technology, but that money we will try to get it revolved through a revolving fund. The last one is the smart energy systems. And here we will try to engage customers so that customers on their mobile can see not only just their bill amount and to pay the bill amount, but also their load curve, how their load is balancing, how their load is going in different appliances that they have, and also to help them in terms of when the time of the use tariff, etc., gets implemented, and when the smart meters are there, how they can reduce their power bill. Such tips will also come to them, both for the purpose of saving their money and also to support on the grid. The main idea here is to engage the customers in the whole process of this. So these are the new 7, and we are very excited about these awards, and we look forward to a very fruitful ending. And all those ideas are given by them. We have not given them the idea. So we look forward in this round also the ideas from you to select and facilitate your ideas in terms of this grant. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So that's all from my side. There is a session for the question and answer. If you have any questions on that or in any of the things, we'd like to take a couple of questions towards the end. Thank you, Bhumika. Over to you.
Thank you, Rakesh sir. I think there is a lot of clarity on the work SAREP is doing and all the grants which have been awarded through SPF. And I think there'll be more clarity when people would ask questions after we finish. So now I'll invite Naveen Devnani, who's the Director Finance and Grants, and he'll be taking you through the partnership fund and what all details. So he has led finance and operations function in a lot of several large funded programs across themes. In this sector. So his area of expertise include compliance and regulatory matters, governing non-profit entities, finance management, administering grants, internal control, and risk management. So Naveen, over to you now.
Thank you, Bhumika, and hello, everyone. In the next few slides, we will walk you through the application process and the eligibility requirements. These are important as applications not meeting these requirements may not be considered for further evaluation. Next slide, please, Bhumika. Starting with the application information, you can download the request for applications from the SAREP website, which is sarepenergy.net. The RFA has complete information regarding the application process, the eligibility criteria, evaluation criteria, documents required for submission, and the timelines. There will be a short Q&A session towards the end of this event. You will also have the option to compile your questions later and send these to sarepgrants@rti.org until July 17th. Responses to your questions will be posted on the SAREP website by July 21st, and there will be no individual responses. The final applications must also be submitted on the same email ID, which is sarep-grants@rti.org, and the last date of submission will be August 8th. Next slide, please. Section 5 of the RFA specifies the types of organizations which are eligible to apply. Entities which are not specifically barred from receiving US government funds may submit their applications. The applicant must be able to work legally in any of the 6 SAREP countries for which the application is being submitted. The types of entities which are eligible are private sector and for-profit entities, not-for-profit organizations or NGOs, civil society organizations, business service organizations, industry, trade, or other private sector organizations, educational training or academic institutions, and think tanks and research entities. Local and underutilized partners are encouraged to apply. Next slide, please. Section 5 of the RFA further elaborates that applicants must be legally authorized to receive foreign-funded grants. Accordingly, the application must demonstrate compliance with all applicable local, legal, and regulatory requirements to carry out activities in the country for which the application is being made. Examples of such regulatory requirements are specified in the RFA. For example, in India, the applicant must comply with provisions of the Foreign Contributions Regulations Act. Similarly, in Bangladesh, the applicant must comply with Foreign Donations Voluntary Activities Regulations Act. Similar relevant laws applicable in other SAREP countries are given on your screen and are also mentioned in the RFA. Next slide, please. SAREP is looking at partners with strong institutional capacity, both in terms of technical and operational aspects. Organizations intending to receive grants from SAREP must have sound financial systems, no real or apparent conflict of interest, internal controls to safeguard assets and protect against fraud or abuse of funds, have or commit to secure a unique entity identifier, a UEI number, which is a mandatory requirement, and the process for obtaining the same is given in the RFA. The applicant should also be willing to abide by the applicable USAID regulations, should be able to report on achievements and outputs in line with RTI's approved monitoring and evaluation plan, must have written and well articulated ethics and conflict of interest policies, and ensure compliance with environmental monitoring and mitigation requirements. Next slide, please. Let us have a look at the types of organizations which are ineligible to receive SAREP grants. These include public international organizations, government or parastatal entities, entities with any record of misusing US government funds or promoting illegal activities, entities specifically excluded in the US government's system of award management, political parties, entities engaged in activities that have a negative environmental impact, applicants that have violated child protection norms or indulge in human trafficking or who are in violation of human rights, applicants that are affiliated with RTI or any of its subcontractors, officers, directors, or employees, any entity with a member that appears on the US Department of Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control or specifically designated nationals or block persons list. This information is available on the USAID website, or entities undergoing bankruptcy or restructuring or under any regulatory process. SAREP will also be conducting a due diligence process to determine if the applicant is ineligible. Next slide, please. Having talked about types of ineligible organizations, let us now look at activities which are not eligible for funding through the SAREP Partnership Fund. Such activities include those which are related to carbon-intensive fossil fuel-based energy projects, purchase of restricted and prohibited goods as per USAID's ADS 312. You could download this from the USAID website. Purchase of goods or services from suppliers from restricted and prohibited countries as per ADS 310, or from those who are debarred from receiving US government funding. Other ineligible activities include type of construction activities and procurement of covered telecommunication equipment services in accordance with Section 889 of the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act. Please do refer to the detailed list of unallowable costs as per 2 CFR 200 subpart E, which can again be downloaded from the USAID website. Next slide, please. Now let us have a look at the process for evaluating the applications. This is mentioned under 6 of the RFA. Only those applications which meet the minimum eligibility criteria and are complete in all respects will be evaluated. Once the initial screening is complete, a 3-step evaluation process will be followed. In the first step, applications will be reviewed for relevance and alignment to any of the SAREP's 4 objectives. In the second step, applications will be evaluated based on the defined criteria. And lastly, the shortlisted applications will be invited for discussions and negotiations. Next slide, please. The evaluation criteria for scoring the applications is divided into 4 broad categories. The technical approach and merit, which has been assigned a weight of 60%. Applicants' organizational capabilities with a weight of 20%. Commitment to gender diversity and inclusion with a weight of 10%. And past performance records of the applicant with a weight of 10%. We will discuss these in a bit more detail and share some various subcomponents of each of these categories. Next slide, please. The first criteria is the technical approach and merit. Under this, the evaluation committee will be looking at the extent to which the proposed activity demonstrates innovative or unique approaches to achieve the desired outcomes. the quality and viability of the technical approach, the expected impact and scale, soundness of the implementation plan and strategy, including its potential for scaling and replication in the South Asian region, the sustainability aspect, ability to leverage funds from other partners, the overall environmental impact, demonstrated evidence for collaboration with local beneficiary institutions which can support sustainability and scale up of the funded activity. Examples of such beneficiary institutions could be any government or public institutions, utilities, municipalities, and financial institutions. And lastly, return on investment, that is the impact achieved in relation to the proposed grant amount. The technical approach and merit is the most important criteria with a total weight of 60%. Next slide, please. The second criteria is around the applicant's organizational capabilities. The applicant must demonstrate the applicant's capability to undertake and accomplish the proposed activities. The internal organizational structure, technical capacity, quality of personnel, and financial management capabilities will be considered as important factors for evaluation. In addition, the track record and achievements related to proposed activity, understanding of local context, and experience of working in the region will be considered. The total weight of this criteria is 20%. Next slide, please. The third criteria is commitment to gender diversity and inclusion, where the extent to which these approaches are integrated into the proposed activities will be considered. The total weight of this criteria is 10%. And lastly, the fourth criteria is the past performance record. Each applicant must have details of at least 5 references with whom the applicant has worked in the last 3 years for implementing a program of similar type. SAREP would determine if the applicant was successful in achieving its goals, was effectively able to plan and manage its award, and how proactive and responsive the applicant was in addressing any obstacles during performance. The total weight of this criteria is 10%. Next slide, please. Now let us move to the section 9 of the RFA, which describes the contents of the application package. The application package consists of 2 parts. Part 1 is the grant application form, which is given in the RFA. And part 2 is the confirmation of the applicant's applicable terms and conditions. Both these must be duly filled and signed by the authorized personnel from the applicant organization. There are 3 important attachments which need to be submitted. Attachment A is the budget, which must be accompanied by a budget narrative. Attachment B is the organizational control environment questionnaire. And attachment C is the unique identity identifier or the UEI number. In case you do not have a UEI number, instructions for obtaining the same are available in the RFA. These must be submitted along with the rest of the documents, such as the executive summary, program description, the implementation plan, monitoring and evaluation plan, the sustainability plan, etc. Next slide, please. Now let's briefly discuss about the budget. Each application must be accompanied by the budget and a detailed budget narrative. The budget should correlate with the activities proposed in the program description. The template for submission of the budget has been provided in Excel and can be downloaded along with the RFA from the SAREP website. The budget must be broken down by line items and must clearly indicate the units and per unit cost. Costs must be based on prevailing market rates or historical data. And the budget narrative must be clear and must explain all the assumptions that have been used for preparing the budget. Please note that lump sum budgets will not be considered. And since this is a USAID funded grant, please also ensure that no profits or fee is included as part of the cost. The budget template has a separate column to indicate the amount to be leveraged from other non-US government sources. Next slide, please. Let's briefly touch upon the post-award reporting and audit requirements. These are specified in section 8 of the RFA. Once the award is signed, the recipient will be required to submit periodic technical and financial reports, which are specified in the award, which will be issued to the selected applicants. Any income that may be generated from program activities must be applied back to the proposed activities only. And at any time while the award is active, SAREP may require an external audit to be conducted to ensure that all costs are allowable, allocable, and reasonable. Next slide, please. Finally, talking about the timelines. After this event, you may send us questions for clarifications by July 17th by email to sarep-grants@rti.org. Please do also mention that the questions in the subject line. Do mention that the name of the organization and the questions. We will also be posting a consolidated response to all the questions on the SAREP website by July 21st. No individual responses will be provided to any of the applicant. And finally, the complete application package will be due by midnight India time on August 8. These must also be submitted on the same email ID, which is sarep-grants@rti.org. Next slide, please. Okay, back to you, Bhumika. We can now probably open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Naveen. I'm sure that was helpful. So now I would request those who have questions, please raise their hands and I would allow you to speak. So I have Neeraj Gupta. I'm allowing you to speak. Please introduce yourself and put forward your question, Neeraj.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Introduce yourself and then put forward your question.
My name is Neeraj Gupta. I am a managing director with BLP Investments. We are in the process of setting up a fund which will be investing in clean energy initiatives in India. This was a very helpful presentation. Thank you very much for that. My question is that you had mentioned certain eligibility criteria for the organization that can apply. Now, our entity in India has all those eligibility conditions that it complies with those. However, can we apply from our holding company in Singapore and use the eligibility of our Indian operating company?
Maybe I'll take this question, Bhumika.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
Neeraj, you're free to apply from any country or from any entity that you have. So SAREP does accept applications from all countries. There are certain countries which are published on the USAID's website, which could be barred countries, except for those entities from any other country can apply. And the mechanism of how you wish to operate in any of these SAREP countries, whether you'll be using your Indian entity, we leave that decision to you. I mean, that's for you to figure out on how, the whole mechanism of working in the specified SAREP countries will work out. I hope
Thank you, Neeraj. Yeah, thank you, Neeraj. Now I'll move on to Nipun Pise. If you could please unmute yourself and then go ahead with your question, Nipun.
Yeah,
Nipun,
I
can
hope
you
I'm
speak?
audible
Yeah.
now.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, my question was post the submission of the documents, which is August 8th. What is the timeline that we're looking for SAREP or USAID to get back to us about the shortlisted candidates, and what would be the structure for the disbursement? Will the disbursement happen towards the end of this, and how is it panned out, or how many months are we looking at?
So Nipun, after all the applications are received, we do have to follow certain steps and processes during the evaluation process, which takes about a couple of weeks' time. Based on discussions and other things that we have to complete, the final awards usually take about 3 to 4 months to be issued, although we try to shorten this timeline as much as possible. Regarding your question about the funding mechanism, generally there are two kinds of awards that SAREP issues. It could be a fixed amount award, or it could also be a standard cost reimbursement award. And depending on the nature of award that is given, we basically then look at whether an advance funding can be provided or whether it would be a cost reimbursement basis.
Thanks, Naveen. So we have next Nima Sherpa. So Nima, if you could please go ahead.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm Nima Sherpa, representing Bhutan Foundation. By the way, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Nima. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. I have a couple of questions for you. Actually, I've typed the questions in the chat section as well. Maybe I'll just read it through anyways. Since we are applying for this program for the first time, I have a couple of questions. Number one is like Bhutan Foundation, the organization that I'm representing is actually registered in the US. And our operations are primarily here in Bhutan. And we have a memorandum of understanding that provides the legal basis. That's with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which provides legal basis for our operation in Bhutan. And we do not come under the purview of civil society organization authority, and their laws actually doesn't apply to us. Basically, we're an INGO. And my question is, in this case, do you consider us as an US or non-US agency? That's number one. Number two, can we submit multiple proposals? Number three, we are thinking of leveraging on solar to enhance food security by supporting some of our community-based organizations in Bhutan. And I was thinking, does it qualify under this program? And four, is co-financing allowed? Meaning that if there is an ongoing project being supported by some other donor, and if we would like to complement through this program, is that allowed? And final one is there any country-specific allocation through this program? Thank you so much.
Okay. I can try and answer a couple of these questions, and then I also, would welcome other SAREP colleagues to kind of answer. Nima, to your first question, whether we would consider this as an application from the US entity or from the entity in Bhutan, it actually depends on you. From which entity are you applying, and which entity's registration documents are you submitting along with the application? So if you're submitting the registration documents of the US-based entity, we will consider the application to be submitted by the US entity. Otherwise, if your entity in Bhutan is separately legally registered and you're submitting documents, we would consider that as an application from the Bhutan entity.
All right, that's pretty clear.
Regarding your other question about submission of multiple proposals, yes, in case you have multiple ideas, you could go ahead and submit multiple proposals. Regarding your question about,
Sorry, Nabin, I just would like to interrupt once again. Does that ceiling apply if you have multiple proposals?
We would consider the ceiling separately for each proposal that you would
All right, that's clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah. In terms of you submitting an application for a project which is also being funded by another donor, that would be a great idea also, because SAREP does look forward to leveraging funding from other non-US government sources towards grant activities. And so in case you have such a project which is already being funded by another donor and you would require additional funding, you could apply, and based on the merits of the application, SAREP could consider that. And the amount that is being brought in by the other donor could be considered as leverage for this funding.
All right.
We do not have a country-specific allocation. The selection of the application completely depends on the merit of the application itself.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
One question that you asked about the sharing of the idea that you are sharing, it's very difficult to say at this stage because it's a competitive process. So we will evaluate it, and whosoever gets a good marks will try to do it. So there is no limitation to the number of grants that you wanted to give, but ultimately it's a competitive process. So you cannot comment at this point of time on your ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Naveen and Nima. So I'll allow Megha Goyal to speak now. Megha, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I have actually put the questions in the Q&A. I am a founder and GP of a climate and energy and gender-focused fund registered with India here. So the question is, can an organization, which is right now an investment manager and typically structured as an LLP for a SEBI-registered fund, incorporated in the last 1 year, eligible to receive the grant funding in the FCRA regulations in India? That's my question. Thank
So
you.
Megha, the eligibility in terms of FCRA is something that you may have to check with your own legal or compliance experts within your organization. FCRA, the interpretation of FCRA can vary in different ways. I think it would be best if you could check about the applicability of FCRA on your organization with your own legal expert.
Sure. Thank you so much.
We have now Santosh Mani. Please go ahead. Santosh, can you hear us? Okay, so I'll move ahead for now. So we'll allow Prasun Singh. Prasun, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Prasun, we missed you. Could you just repeat? Yeah, please go ahead.
So I just saying thank you for this wonderful presentation. Most of the queries has already been addressed and answered. I am Prasun. I'm with Terry, the Energy and Resources Institute, New Delhi. My question is regarding if in this particular call, whether the consortium are allowed to participate or it should be individual entity. So if that clarity can be given to us. Thank you.
So Prasun, consortiums are allowed. However, if a consortium is being formed, there will be one prime entity who will be the applicant, which SAREP will consider as a prime applicant. And in case the entity is selected, the award will be issued to the prime entity only.
Okay, so we'll take one last question. So I'll allow Divya Gaur. Divya, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Divya. I'm from CEW. I had a similar question to the previous question that was asked. Are consortiums allowed? And if allowed, how funds will be bifurcated? So that's clear now. So I think the funding will go to the primary entity, and primary entity will have to decide in terms of the funds if there are two partners in a program, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Divya. So we'll just one more last question. Maybe Santosh will try once again for you, if it works. Santosh, could you unmute yourself? We still cannot hear you. Okay, so I think those were the questions. I hope there is a lot of clarity, and the remaining questions you can always ask. So Naveen has given you the details. And with that, now I will invite Sumedh Agarwal, who's the Deputy Chief of Party for SAREP. Sumedh leads the Utility Modernization and Advanced Technologies Engagement as SAREP's Deputy Chief of Party. He works with government and private sector stakeholders to decarbonize their organizations, reach net zero goals, accelerate power sector utilities, smart grids initiatives, and etc. He has more than 20 years of experience. So over to you, Sumedh, for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Bhumika. I think I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all speakers and to attendees for participating and enriching this session. More than 50 plus participants, if I get it right, have joined today. And this is the testimony of the importance of this grant that proceed to support market transformation solutions for the clean energy transition. Particularly grateful to Apurva for sharing her valuable perspective and is working to get USAID resources utilized innovatively and sustainably. I also would like to thank Dr. Rakesh Goyal, who with great conviction is ensuring that SAREP grants are awarded to most deserving applicants, and today enthusiastically explain what is SAREP program all about. Thank you to Naveen for being lucid in presenting the grant eligibility, submission requirements and timelines, and to you, Bhumika, who was MC of this event. Also, my colleagues who have worked in backdrop, Farah, Mahender, Namrata, also deserve a round of applause for ensuring we can have this curtain raiser event after RFA release in a time-bound manner. I hope the questions today were responded in appropriate manner, and you have noted that SAREP will be happy to respond to any further queries you may have by July 21st. So I conclude with my best wishes and look forward to your applications that can catalyze cutting-edge clean energy technologies, business solutions that can be made demonstrable, scalable, and replicable across South Asia. So namaskar, and wish you have a good evening ahead. Bhumika, over to you for concluding session proceedings.
Thank you, Sumedh. So again, I would also just say that we are very grateful, and we had a very wonderful audience who have joined us. And so we are overwhelmed with the response, and we hope to receive more such RFAs through this event. So this event would also be put up on the SAREP YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the channel, and so that you can refer to this session again as well on the SAREP YouTube channel. Again, I thank all my speakers, all the backend team. And with this, we conclude this session for today. I hope this was helpful, and we thank each one of you again. Namaskar.
Namaskar.